Hello, Muskan and Hari. It's been a pleasure to have you at Impact Tech Studio. Uh, Here we are, give a spotlight to meaningful innovations, which actually have the potential to cause a change in an economy which is needing that change. In your case, I think your startup stands in that place where a solution comes in and solves it for scalable problems. Due to that, we gave you an option to just come on our platform, and we wanted to know your story, know what makes you livable plan, what makes you a brand, what is that your aims are and what your ambitions are, and where do you stand currently, right? Simply. So I'll start with the questions. So how both of you have come in, Muskan and Hari, how did that happen as a group? How did you find each other, and how did the co-founder whole thing, the story of your co-founding the team happen?
Sure. I think that's a very interesting question, Arjun, that you asked, because not a lot of people know, but we met on a Clubhouse, which is like another platform that hosts a lot of interesting discussions. And we were part of this room where we were discussing on plant-based food and other sustainability options. So I was part of that room as just an audience, and Hari was organizing the room and event, and he was one of the speakers. And I think there weren't a lot of people in the room, so it actively promoted discussion among those who were. So I got invited to talk, and we were just connecting on what we had in common in terms of our visions for sustainability and things like that. And post the call, we connected, and by then Hari was already working on this idea. So I thought it would be really interesting to join him and see. So I actually just joined the company first as an intern, and then we decided that, hey, why don't we just work with a few pilot projects and see how that goes. And we decided to take it forward and actually take Livabl. So it was called something else back then. The idea was completely different. And then we decided that let's pivot and take this forward. So we started Livabl together then.
Right. So what is Livable and what services do you provide? Just give us an understanding.
Sure. So at Livabl, we are your sustainability enablers here to help any individual or company that wants to take climate action. So what we primarily help companies do at Livabl is help them measure their carbon footprint, reduce it and offset it in order to become carbon neutral. So this concept of carbon neutrality and climate neutrality is much more common outside India. And Hari has done his environmental engineering from the Netherlands, and he wanted to come back home and ensure that this is also very adoptive over here. So that's when we decided that we're going to help with this. And a lot of people don't understand that the root cause of climate change is actually the rise and increase in carbon emissions, right? So we wanted to solve the cause of the problem and not just the effects. And that's why we decided to help companies measure and reduce their carbon footprint. So primarily, we help companies in putting out sustainability reports as well. And apart from that, we help them become climate neutral. Another very interesting space that we identified is a lot of sustainable brands that we work with faced a lot of struggle in order to communicate and measure their impact. They were doing some excellent and brilliant work in the sustainability space, but there was no metric for them to quantify and tell that, hey, I've actually helped someone save these many liters of water or save these many tons of carbon emissions. So how could we bridge that gap with data and technology? And that's where Livabl came in, and we've helped companies achieve that and sort of created our own set of key indexes and metrics that you can also put out on your website in the form of a dashboard to just view, and very easily also in terms of communicating to a layman that, hey, this is probably equivalent for you to taking a flight from Chennai to Delhi a couple of times. So we've managed to do that as well. We want to be a sustainability partner for any individual or company who's looking to take climate action.
Right, right. So what is your ambition? What creates your purpose? What drives you? What is Livabl plan having as a moonshot?
So I want to just do a small correction. So we call Livabl. Livabl is the company's name.
Right.
So
Right.
So what we do with Livabl is we aim to, like Muskan said, the core aim or the focus is to reduce carbon emissions and to offset these emissions as much as possible. So I'd say the moonshot is to carry out more of these offset projects or these ecosystem restoration projects, so that how you can leverage funds to say this is one way of saying, like, for a recall in carbon emissions, you probably the ideal way is definitely to keep reducing the emissions as much as possible and not have much emissions, but that's not like a switch that you turn on and then you immediately become net zero in your emissions. So till that happens, then how we can offset these restoration projects. So the whomever is emitting, it could be an individual or an organization who is emitting these carbon emissions, take responsibility for their emissions, and they offset it by funding an NGO or an offset project that in a way restores the ecosystem. It could be like a tree planting or a mangrove restoration project, or it could be some other project in a way which kind of funds the reduction in the CO2 emissions because of the
So
project.
it
So
basically
that's,
offsets the carbon footprint of that
yeah,
organization that is paying you for that service, and you put a percentage of that. How does that commercial work for you? So when a client, for example, if Ideas Hacks Ventures pays you, right, at that moment, how will the money that goes to you get divided into your value chain, and what is that value chain? Could you please throw some light on it?
Sure, definitely. So for Livable, we don't have any direct offset projects that we do. We partner with local projects. So
Right.
we don't take any commission on that. It directly goes in terms of the third party that we provide you or connect you with, because each project, supposing you're a food company that's growing or producing chocolates, right? You might want to restore the cocoa bean plantation. So we will identify cocoa bean planters who might be able to produce that offset for you. But we don't take any commission of that sort. We take a commission or we take a fee in terms of you wanting to come to us and measure your carbon footprint, because that's what we do as a service provider. And we have two models that we follow. We either take like a per project base in terms of, hey, you come to me and you say, Arjun, like, Muskan, this is what my requirement is for Idea Shacks, and I want you to measure and tell me what my carbon footprint is and to put out a report. So that would be like a per project fee. And the second thing would be, you want to tell me that, Muskan, I want to take climate action from start to finish and help Idea Shacks become climate neutral itself. So that would be an ongoing process and would take a couple of months in order to execute. So we have like a monthly retainer that we charge in terms of consulting you on how you can actually take those steps to reach there and also offset your footprint.
yeah. And apart from that, 10% of our total profit automatically goes to offset projects, which we do on our behalf.
That
Which
is
you do on your behalf, which also helps you to build the ecosystem of investments into offset projects, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
in a way, yeah.
Great,
And
great.
also
So,
sort of preach and like fight for what we're preaching, right? Because we don't want to be anybody who just comes and gives a consultancy service. We want to be an impact creator and actually stand for what we believe in.
agreed, agreed. So let's look at what the sustainable objectives that so it's an amazing thing that you've helped with organizations to become sustainable with their objectives, to have sustainability as a part to the whole thing. How do you drive adoption? So give us some examples. What have you seen? What is your total addressable market, and how do you see the adoption moving in that direction? Whatever way you want to throw the light on this, I would love to hear that.
Yeah. So each company has their own needs, right? So what sustainability could mean to a fashion brand could be completely different to what sustainability means to a manufacturing company. So take a fashion brand. We've worked with fashion companies, and they, in their production itself, they have enormous amount of impact that it has on the environment. So a lot of brands want to showcase themselves as sustainable, or there are a few brands who want to ensure that their entire supply chain is sustainably done. So for a fashion brand, it's about brand value. It's about that becomes like one really important thing for them. While for a manufacturing company, it could be cost savings because they reduce their emissions, they process more efficient, which helps them reduce their cost. It makes the process more efficient, and then that's a different brand value that brings. So it varies from each company to company, each brand to brand, and we are in a way industry agnostic, and we work with different brands in a way. So in when you specifically ask about adoption, we start off with a business case. So for each, like I told, for each industry or each domain, the business case varies. For a fashion brand, the business case is to the brand value, and like I said, for a manufacturing, it could be different. So we then start off with a business case and see how you becoming sustainable, or how you making your processes more sustainable adds either to your revenue or it reduces your cost. So in a way, we find that business case, and that is the model with which we work for companies and consult them on how you becoming more sustainable in your processes is adding value to you.
So if I'm hearing it correctly, you're not only descriptive, but you also become prescriptive for the brands that align with you. So do you give prescription on the same thing, or do you just end up giving them results and then giving them that this is what your current state of sustainability is? And are you suggestive as well?
Yeah, it's both ways, right? I can't say I'll prescribe you something and then you'll see the results after 5 years. Businesses run day to day. Some businesses done day to day, some businesses done week to week, and few are like monthly basis. Depends on the size and all that. People want immediate results, so it depends on companies' needs. When for this immediate result that they need is we have few, and we also prescribe them saying, see, these are all the potential risks that you already have because of your current businesses, because of the compliances and all of that, and what you could strategically do in such a way that 5 years or 10 years down the lane, it adds value to you as well. And even carbon footprint measurement is just one aspect of what we do, that though that's like our focus area. We also realized companies need an overall sustainability framework, or something that would compass and carbon emission is a part of it. So
you develop the roadmap for them as well, and you move into a prescriptive model for sustainability for brands. Great. Great. So what could be your total addressable market? How do you define your total addressable market? It's a very investor driven question, but it is a good thing to ask every time. How do you define your total addressable market, and what is it?
Sure. So to be honest with you, currently as an early stage startup, what we're following, we want to work very closely with SMEs. So as currently we're not industry focused, we are very welcoming to anybody who wants to take sustainability action and drive impact, right? So our focus market and our total addressable market currently is any SME who is interested in driving this adoption. But to be honest, the ideal target market would be larger companies who have compliances. Now, even the Indian government has introduced the compliance in terms of sustainability reporting for listed companies. So all of that would drive also like climate policy change and things like that. So ideally our target market would be bigger companies, but our focus right now is on SMEs, because eventually SMEs are the providers to these larger companies as well. So that's what we're focusing on currently. And also other domain of sustainable brands who are wanting to measure and quantify their impact.
Agreed. So at a brand level also, as well as at an operational level, you get involved with a large corporate or an SME. Both sides you can take, right? Okay. Yes. So some of the, so in our ecosystem also, there are some startups and as well as one enterprise now. It started as a startup, but now it's a full-blown enterprise because they went into solving the problem of how much water is being used in an assembly line. So they are very concentrated on that. So what they do is they majorly reduce the water consumption while the assembly of anything is happening. So it is a scalable thing. The initial investments into them is very high to move in that direction. So similarly, I think this could be a very good alliance also in a way to look at such startups and see that, okay, the reporting part could be handled by Livabl. That's just one side of the argument that I was thinking maybe a connect could happen, right? So let's move forward. So
Sure.
what are carbon credits? Because that's a new kind of, for India, I think lots and lots of them know about carbon credits. They know what we are earning out of these carbon credits, but how do we monetize it? How do we go in the direction of, are these carbon credits useful for me or not? I am growing trees in my state. So one of the guys I met recently was talking about Mizoram, and he was talking about we have green belts of the sizes of hectares and so long, and the government is right now asking how to get these carbon credits to be monetized for the state to develop on other sides. So how to offset with carbon credits. So give us an understanding of carbon credits as per what you have contributed as, and are they a measure of performance, or how can you earn more out of it? So a basic answer out of these would just drive what your thinking is. Where do you stand in the whole picture? So that is where this
Sure.
question stands. Please tell me about it.
I'd probably basically explain how carbon credits
Yes,
work
please.
basically, and then I can well deep into how to develop carbon credits and all of that. It might be a little brief, but and then yeah.
Don't worry.
So say you're a company that every industry has a certain limit of, so every country has a limit of carbon emissions that they can emit, which they have signed based on Paris Peace Agreement and all of that, and which would be then divided into industry specific, and depending on your size of the market that you're handling within the industry, you would be given a quota of emissions to do. So say you're an aircraft operating company, and then you are given, just for example, like I'm giving a vague number, say 1,000 emissions is what you can emit. So only 1,000 tons is what you can emit in a year. For example, 1 ton of CO2 is given as 1 carbon credit. So you can emit 1,000 tons, that's okay. But anything beyond 1,000, you might have to offset it. So say you are emitting 1,500 tons in a year, then you might have to offset 500 tons of your CO2 emissions, for which you might want to go buy a carbon offset, which is of 1 credit. So you might want 500 credits of carbon credits. So what happens parallelly is a carbon offset developer who might, like you said, might have planted acres and acres of trees, will develop a credit saying for this much amount of space, what is the actual carbon emission that happens. And say if it is for certain area, they apply to few standards and all of that.
Right.
Who then there are standards like gold standard, Vera, and there are like 4 to 5 standards that are being globally followed. So you apply to one of them, they come, they verify, and then they say, okay, this is the credit value of this project. So your credit value is probably 1,500 credits. So the amount of tree planting that you have done in this area within this period of time, you are eligible for 1,500 credits. So this company that needs 500 credits pays you the required amount. You can sell it for whatever cash that you want it to be, but it has to be minimum $10, 10 US dollars. It has to be minimum $8 and $2 for fair wage. So it has to be minimum $10. You can sell it for whatever price you want. You can sell it for 10, 11. You can even sell it for 50. There are even companies which sell it for 250, 300. It depends on your project development cost and all that. So you then agree upon a pricing with this company, and they buy those 500 credits or whatever that they need from you. So this is how the basic carbon market works. So then there are different players within this. There are companies in which already established, where you can go establish your credits. There's something called as a gold standard registry, where if you are a project developer, you can just go and register and say you've developed 350 credits, and any company globally can just come to that registry, find your project, fund your whatever the costing that you have, and they can buy the credits. So that's in a way how the carbon market
So
works.
how does Livabl come in the picture of carbon credits for organizations?
So we still not into the carbon credit space exactly how this works. We still helping companies with measuring their carbon footprint and directing them to NGOs to offset it. And in a way, we are trying to identify a space where we can be like these space between project developers and the companies. So we already measure the company's carbon emissions, and we are already in touch with few project developers. So we could be that bridging gap where we can just connect both these people, and we can just enable that movement to happen. So that is something that we are still researching upon and figuring out how Livabl could fit in the space of this carbon credits. But then there are a lot of different standards and procedures that you have to follow, which is quite rigorous and which is very time consuming. So we're still in that process.
Agreed.
But like you very rightly mentioned, there are people already in India that are doing such good work in terms of, let's say, like creating these projects and might not even realize that they might account for a carbon credit or a carbon offset. So we're also looking to venture into that space to help these project developers or individuals who are doing tree plantation or things like that be eligible to get this credit. So that process is also, like Hari mentioned, very vigorous in order to apply for that standard, get listed and all of that. So that's also somewhere that we feel there's a huge need in the market, and we can definitely get into that space eventually.
Yes, please. So that's a good aim to have as well, I believe, because it's currently a buzzword, I believe, in India, but obviously there is not much of real action in terms of using the carbon credits to the efficiency that it can give. So kudos to you to be in the right direction. So moving in, so I saw on your platform there is something written like a livable certification. So what is a livable certification? How can brands benefit from it?
So Livabl certification is basically we certify saying that we have accredited these organizations or the brands that we've quantified their emissions in terms of impact or in terms of the report that we've made, so that it becomes like an identification for them that a third party has come on board with them and has verified how sustainable they are. So that is something that we are offering to brands. And with this certification, it's more like a brand value that adds to them, where they say that they are being certified by the third party who is particularly focused on sustainability, and then it becomes like an added brand value to them.
So this is something that we also want to club in terms of providing for D2C brands, because they are providing a physical product to an end consumer. And you might be seeing in terms of food products, you have vegan labels that have come up now, right? So how can we also use this in terms of providing for a space in carbon labeling? So you can also mention the carbon footprint of your product on these labels and use like, hey, you know, Livabl has certified me that says that this is the carbon footprint of my product, and I can actually communicate it to my end consumer. And maybe a conscious consumer might, because he or she is aware about what's happening in the carbon footprint area and wants to be conscious of their footprint, can understand that this is the impact this product's having. So it should be as mainstream as nutritional labeling soon.
Yeah, and also it opens to transparency of brands. They're just being very transparent of their process, and directly to the customer, whomever is buying the product, they're just transparently saying this is our process, and they're listing it out. While there are a lot of brands where do a lot of greenwashing and they don't really put details out, but they say they are sustainable. So how do you measure that? How do you measure, and then making it data enabled makes it more.
So the data that you capture and you report in these reports that create that certification, are they, so you must be working on making them as easy for the third party to hop in and say that this result is good for us to start with, right? So you must be continuously working on improving the quality of those results and making sure that everything just comes in as something easy to understand and adoptable by the agencies that are coming in as certifying agencies to make the market more in the way. So this is a private certification that you provide, right? So it is majorly a brand value kind of impetus to the brand. And helps the brand to become more transparent. It is the 360 degree of the brand side. But from the operational side, if you want to get into that, so obviously your product must be moving in the direction of giving the maximum that a platform could give, for the maximum impact, that the easiest way to get a real certification for business to improve as well, right?
Yes.
That's the plan, right? So yes, let's move forward. Let me ask you, what challenges have you faced in India? What have you faced in India since you've started? So how long have you been in this business, and what have you looked as challenges in India specifically?
Sure. So there are a couple that I can name out immediately in terms of immediate challenges that we see. There are few that are long term that would be in association with how policies are framed in the country and things like that. For now, India has committed to a net zero target by 2070. So how does one get into alignment with that? But the immediate challenge that we see is a bit of resistance from companies in choosing this as their number one priority, right? A lot of education and awareness still needs to go into understanding that, hey, you might not even have a business if this is the state of the world in 10 years from now. So people don't realize that this is affecting them on a daily basis without having to see that effect upfront. I come from Chennai and we have floods like we've had so many like floods that have created such disastrous impact for the city, right? Nobody understands what the root cause of that was and how we can do or what we can do to prevent that from a very root level and not just solving for the water flooding and all of that, right? So I mean, I cannot blame businesses for this because they have 1,000 and other things to like focus on while they are running a business in terms of driving their marketing, driving sales and things like that. But what they don't understand, I feel personally, is how can sustainability integrate all of this and actually create a much more positive marketing and brand value as well. So I think we've faced a bit of resistance and challenge with adoption in terms of companies helping us collaborate with them as their number one priority. So some of them, we faced a lot of rejections that say that, hey, we'll come back later, maybe once we're more established or things like that. But we want to be able to show that this is the immediate priority and requirement for companies.
Yeah, so one way I think would be useful, maybe if I think that you must have already explored that, is that partnering with companies that are in the space of enterprise sustainability, who are delivering at operational level, aligning with them might become a service addition to them. And that way they already have a foot in the market, and you could just enter through them as a partnered agreement, right? So I was just thinking, I just liked that idea once you said that, right? So let's move forward. So who all have helped you in this journey? Just a quick understanding of who all have come in would be really good for your thing. So basically in our startup, we always name all our members who have been from the time of startup of our co-working space, moving to a venture fund. And we name each one of them and tell them that these guys just waited for us while we were improving our product. So similarly, you must have some supporters. Everyone has some. So please name a few. Due to dearth of time, I would like you to make it really fast.
Yeah, definitely the list is huge, and the more I want to talk about it, the more I don't want to miss out people, as I say. So I think probably I was working in a company called SPI before this, and they had an accelerator to help. We had an impact investor through which we help startups and like social innovation related ideas and stuff. So the experience that I had like really helped me a lot. Like everyone who I had an opportunity to interact with in that space was like really amazing. And I don't want to like pinpoint or say names, but everyone that I had an opportunity till date, they're just one call away. Some people have their own businesses, some people are like, everyone's unique in a way, and anything that I can ask, they're just one phone call or a text away. So that initial network I had really helped me a lot. And apart from that, we have Jaikant, who's like a buddy and like a mentor. He runs his own company as well, where they help to teach kids and do experiential learning or through experiments and stuff to make science easy. So, and they run a company called Infinite Engineers. His experience of running from scratch and building an idea, he also just came up with an idea, and then to be able to be doing what he's been doing for years. And his knowledge sharing has been like deeply helpful for us, and even like all my friends and family with whom
Amazing.
we been in touch with.
Of course, our entire team, we've been very grateful to find such like-minded people from across the world. So our team is based, we work virtually. So we have Rebecca, who's from Dubai. We have Krishna working from Netherlands, Sai from Canada, Manoj from Chennai. All of them have been like a huge support. Adi helps us from Chennai as well. And there are like a couple more who just join in, and like we try to create impact from different parts of the world.
Amazing, amazing. So let's move forward. Let me ask you, are you bootstrapped? Are you invested into? Are you operationally profitable? Or what is the stage of your business?
Sure. So I think one thing that me and Hari agreed
It's a
upon
painful
when we
question, but I'm just asking. Generally, at the
So-
start of everything, we just want to say that our aims and ambitions are bigger than what our revenues are. But yes,
Yeah.
please give me some understanding, because that brings clarity to the table.
No, I think it's a very genuine question. And if we're able to help other individuals who are probably in this situation currently figure out if what is the best solution for them or what is the best pathway for them to venture into, it would be really nice. So one thing that me and Hari at least started off from our core values, we thought, let's bootstrap as much as we can. So we've been bootstrapped till now. We're not looking to raise any investments or funds currently in the next couple of months at least, because what we're working on, we want to ensure that we have a positive cash flow to fund those things or fund those project orders. So currently we're bootstrapped. Yes, we've just broken even and we are cash flow positive
Amazing.
from last month. So that's been good. And we continue to hopefully end this year on a positive note of being cash flow positive. And it's completely up to you to make that happen, is what we strongly believe in. We've been a very small member team, making smart decisions, hiring on per project basis, not having full-time employees to, sort of dedicate resources to from the beginning of the month. So I think that's been a very major learning for us in order to be bootstrapped.
Great, great. What a nice place to be in the beginning. You've reached your first break even.
Yeah.
So let's move forward. Let me ask you one simple question that we always ask our interviewees. And that's a very simple question. In today's time, the best question to ask is, how do you define resilience? And I always give them 1 minute or 1.5 minutes to just explain it in the best words, like an elevator pitch for resilience. So please give me what is resilience for you and how do you see it?
Yeah, I can, I'd say focus. Resilience, it comes with focus. You're focused on and dedicated to something you're doing. It could be anything that you're doing. You're just focused on one thing and you try to align everything else, like your thought, your personal time, your passion, and everything towards that. Everything needs to be balanced. I'm not saying that because you have a dream, you should leave everything behind and run behind, but at least the focus has to be there. And for me personally, I think there was a point where like every founder would also face, where I was already in a good job that was paying me well, and then I had this idea that I was working that dream as well. So that point at which I decided, okay, I'll just leave my job, take this up completely. I had like a 3-month window to support myself, and I was like, I'll just focus on this and just make it possible. I didn't know anything else other than that. I was just focused on this one thing, and I was like, I'll figure it out and make it happen. So I think focus at the current modern world, where there are so many distractions for you to get, you're just like one notification away from getting your whole day done. So I think focus would be the key, I would say. For resilience is a huge word again, but I'd say it starts with focus and concentrating on what you have at hand. And I think that is my way of defining it. At probably Muskan can have
Yeah,
per se.
no, I mean, for sure. So I think that is definitely one thing, like Hari mentioned, mine would be definitely not giving up in what you believe in, because I've been a very firm believer of following whatever I want to do from the start, whatever I'm passionate about. So I come from a food science background, so things have been a bit different in that space. And I had a previous startup as well, which didn't work out for me. So I think pivoting and making that shift and not giving up to what I believe in and actually being able to do good for people and the environment has been a constant force to drive me and motivate me at least. So I think not giving up is something that I would say.
Amazing, amazing. So it was a pleasure having you both, Muskan and Hari. What a day, what a nice learning from you. We will be taking this conversation forward as we seed your story across platforms, and we will also be sending emails to our mentors as well. We will be posting this in terms of video format or written format in different platforms that we have. You must have seen what we had sent you earlier.